Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and 710 AM. Anywhere you stream, anywhere, hey Google, ask Alexa, it's Uncanceled with Kevin Kietzman. Glad to have you today. We've got a very special show for you today in one regard. I have gone through 3 lead stories, 3 monologues in the last 2 hours, trying to figure out what to start the show with. I had a good one, then a better one, and now the best one. So we'll be starting with that in just a moment. In about 30 minutes, I've done a lengthy interview with Chris DeGaulle, who's running for Congress in Missouri's 6th District. It is on my podcast today, Kevin Kietzman Has Issues. If you want to hear the entire interview, it is up at kkhasissues.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's called Kevin Kietzman Has Issues. Chris DeGaulle, I have known for over 25 years. And while I'm not really endorsing anyone in the primaries because I just don't know enough about the races and don't feel like it's my position to suggest to you who to vote for or whatever, what I can tell you is there is zero doubt in my mind if I lived in Missouri 6th, I'd be voting for Chris DeGaulle. I have known him for over 25 years, and he is just the best and would serve those people well, and he's got the right intentions to go there, so I am completely and utterly biased on this one, and I admit that. So, but it's hard when you have a friend, when you have somebody you've known that long. What else can I say? So I'm a big fan of Chris DeGaulle, and we're going to play a nice clip from you, from Chris DeGaulle, coming up in about 30 minutes, talking about some really cool stuff. Then for Mark at the end of the show, I'm going to trip him up a little bit today. I'm not going into his wheelhouse. Okay, I got a couple of stories for Mark later in the show that I'm going to see if he's on his toes today. I may tip him off during a commercial break here at some point and just at least let him know the category. Well, I'll say this. One of the categories is basketball, but that's a pretty broad category. Another is lottery tickets, and then the other is pizza. So there you go.
Ooh, I like all enough? 3 of those.
Yeah, right. I was going to say. So they're in your wheelhouse, but, not so much. When you hear them, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So I'd originally was going to start talking about J.D. Vance and his stop in Kansas City yesterday, and I'll maybe get to some bigger thoughts as the show goes on. I thought it was a nice event, but I didn't think J.D. Vance was prepared enough. I may be the only one that thought that. He was like, I understand trying to engage the crowd. He's like, who's running in this there race, and who's that? Oh, I don't know that person. I'm like, it just a couple of points during the thing didn't feel right to me, like he was prepared, like he should have been, and maybe these things are easy. But he's going to have to sharpen that. You can come to Kansas City and say, well, okay, if I'm the Republican running for president, I'm going to win Kansas and Missouri, so it's not that important. But really, everywhere you go is that important because it's live streamed everywhere. It's on television and everything else. Then I was going to spend a little time with you about I will get into this at some point, NPR. It's ridiculous. National Public Radio is saying they're offering 300 employees buyouts, and they have to reduce their budget by $8 million a year. They make this announcement a month after receiving $113 million in donations from 2 people. 2 huge donors gave them $113 million, and now they still say they got to cut. I think it's time we just cut NPR completely out of the budget and let the billionaires fund it if they want. But I'm going to start today with something that has been visually and through audio stunning this morning, and that is President Trump outside the East Wing, which is rarely seen by anyone, the East Wing of the White House, where he's building this ballroom. And this was not just a first look at the ballroom. It was a typical Trump. It is transparency before politics. Is the ballroom bad politically? Well, only because we have idiotic people in the media on the left who hate America. You know, it used to be the media would brag about things like, did you know there's a nuclear bunker underneath the White House and the president can be safe, and we have a place in Nebraska where George W. Bush went after 9/11, and we have all these things, and we bragged about them. We bragged about how safe and secure and how great our country is. We protect our president and the people. We were so great at this. And now Trump's building a ballroom, and they came to him when his first idea, it wasn't even his idea. His first idea was, let's build a ballroom. And his Joint Chiefs came together and said, well, if you're doing that, this whole thing isn't very secure, like it needs to be secure for the next generation. The White House was built in the 1700s. It's been modified many ways, but it can be a lot safer. What he explained today, I was unaware of, okay? This building is going 6 stories into the ground. Underneath the ballroom is going to be a military installation, a complete military installation, including a military hospital. The roof is designed for 360-degree complete protection of the entire city of Washington, D.C. It is a military installation on top of the ballroom. It will be the highest point at the White House. He said they'll be able to see the entire city. There will be munitions up there. It's basically, they're building an army base at the White House, a very small one, but by the standards of the White House, this will be the largest thing at the White House. Now, that's probably what's really got the Democrats most mad, is he's building this huge thing next to the White House and the White House complex, which really isn't that big if you've ever been there because it's old. But there's land around it. Trump's a builder. He was completely in his element today, and he said, no, you don't understand. This is all privately paid for. I'm gifting this. And they said, well, why does Congress want $1 billion? Congress wants $1 billion because the Department of War went to them and said, we want to build a military installation along with the ballroom. And we're going to need money for the Secret Service and the military for security around all of this. He said the crazy part is, this is unbelievable, the ballroom actually works as a shield to the military installation. Now, I didn't hear him say this is where the new Situation Room's going to be or the bunker in a nuclear war or anything like that, but that's exactly what this is, the way he described it today. They've already gone 6 stories deep. He's standing at the edge of this thing and says you can see 3 stories down right there because the other 3 stories under there is all 9,000-pound concrete. And if you know anything about concrete, I mean, Trump was completely in his element. If you know anything about concrete, that's impenetrable. There won't be any missiles, any drones, anything that can go down there below this. So he's trying to tell everybody they will not listen on the left. He's trying to tell everybody this is a dangerous-ass world. They've been shooting in my butt forever. I'm sick of it, and this is my gift to future presidents. You're going to be safe here. We're building a fortress with a ballroom. All of the ballroom, all of the things around the ballroom, the meeting rooms and all those things, I'm paying for. I got donors. We're doing all that. But when they came to us and said, we want a military installation here, it's a fantastic idea. Now, think about that for a second. Is there any really better use of $1 billion for our federal government, and maybe it's just the way I was raised, than protecting the White House, the president, the staff, everyone that's there, everyone that's gathered, all these big meetings, from anything that could be doom and gloom? Is there anything more important than that? Because I was raised in a generation where we bragged about this. Did you know there's tunnels underground where John Kennedy could have gone down and gone under and got like all these things in case the Cubans started lobbing missiles? We used to brag that we had this stuff. Trump is telling us, and nobody on the left will listen, we are not prepared for what could happen here. Everywhere he goes, we are not prepared for what could happen. Do you know what follows this man at every turn? Lack of preparation, insecurity. He has lived that life for 10 years. He's been shot. He's been shot at. I think the closest one was the guy in the bushes on the golf course. That was point blank, man. That was going to be so easy if they hadn't found this dude in the bushes. There are weaknesses everywhere. And he's saying, I'm going 6 stories down. Think about a 6-story building, all underground, surrounded by 9,000-pound concrete, and a ballroom on top. Yes, it's going to be a gorgeous ballroom. Yes, it's going to have Trump written all over it. Yes, it will always be referred to as the Trump ballroom or the Trump wing or the Trump whatever. But I didn't know on top of the ballroom they were going to have military installation on the roof that would protect. I mean, I don't even want to know what they're going to put up there and have the ability to do. But this thing's going to be packed with drones and anti-missile technology. They're going to have all of this there. That's why they want the money from Capitol Hill. Now, at the end of the news conference, is because it always turns into a news conference, one of the reporters asked, would you be willing to raise the money for the security portion of this, the military portion of this, through private donors? And Trump says, you don't understand. I didn't ask for this. They came to me and said, double the size of this, please. Double the size so we can do this military thing. And it really isn't something that has to be passed by Congress. We have budgets in the military. When we need to build something in the military, we can do that. Our military is set up to where, okay, we just used a whole bunch of munitions in Iran. We don't have to pass a new law in Congress to make more bombs. When the military needs it, they have a budget. And unlike Kansas school districts, they move money around to become more efficient and say, this is what we need. We'll take it from one department and move it over here. Here's what our budget is. We'll do this, do that. And listen, I'm not telling you the military is completely efficient and doesn't make mistakes. But when they need money for important things like national security, they can find it. It's in the budget somewhere. They'll move it and they'll get it done. And that's what this thing was about. And I just had no idea that's what it was. But I felt incredibly proud as an American watching this man in his element, a builder, a real estate developer by trade, saying, this is going to be unlike anything on earth. This is not just a ballroom. This is going to be unlike anything on planet Earth. It will have all the possible technology to protect the President of the United States, the cabinet, all of the Joint Chiefs, anyone who would be gathered at the White House. That's what this is about. And when we have sat here in the last couple of years, ladies and gentlemen, and these people on the left do not understand this, when we have watched military training helicopters smash into an American Airlines jet, what, a half mile, a mile from the White House? When we've seen that, when we've seen a president repeatedly get shot at or people attempting to kill, when we're at war with Iran, you think they're going to stop after he's out of office? His scariest days for Donald Trump are when his term ends, when he doesn't live there. When he goes back to being a private citizen, the Iranians are still coming for him. They will never not come for him. No, this is a guy, of course, the Democrats somehow have turned a necessary ballroom into a political liability for Republicans. Somehow they did that. Somehow we allow them to do that. And no, the optics aren't great. He's standing there in front of the ballroom and he's bringing it back up. And you can say, oh, they're the Trump ballroom. Okay, you know what he doesn't care about anymore? Politics and optics. The guy's a doer. He's a builder. And he's going to leave a lasting mark on the United States of America. He said there are 40 water features in Washington, D.C. They just cleaned up the reflecting pool for America 250. He said when he took over this last time, none of the 40 water features in Washington, D.C., none of them worked properly. Every single one of them had a problem. He said we're working on all 40 of them. They're all going to be fixed. He loves the reflecting pool. He says it's gorgeous. They did it under budget, whatever. Let me tell you what this radio host is doing. In 2 years, I'm packing up my wife, and we're going to D.C. because I went there many years ago when Obama was president and took my kids. And we loved being in D.C., but it was a hellhole. And I didn't particularly like it. And I was like, wow. Other than the museums that look like they're really well-funded, a lot of stuff there didn't look like it was very well-funded. Trump's cleaning it up, and I can't wait to go see it. Count me in, Mr. President. Keep building, keep spending, make D.C. great again, and don't take any crap from anybody. Just go do it and make it great because I want to come see it, and I want to shed a tear. I want to feel proud. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I want to breathe it in. Just keep going, man, and keep making us great. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. Maybe you think I'm nuts. Let me know next on KCMO.
From Smithville to Shawnee Mission, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Okay, I composed myself during the break there. It's good to get a little excited. You know, we should wake up every day with some vigor and something that gives us energy and makes you feel good. And that made me feel good today. To watch that made me feel really good and proud to be an American. So I hope that you find something in your day-to-day that makes you feel as good as I feel right now. Let's go to the phones. We'll start with Jim in Blue Springs this morning. Hi, Jim. Welcome to Uncanceled. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Hey, I brought this up several times to your boss there, but he just kind of laughs. But I think you need to run for 3rd District there in Kansas and run her out of her job, Sharice Davids, because you have the voice and the passion to do it. I'm serious. It takes somebody that's willing to throw it out there. I don't live in the area. You know, I live on the Missouri side, but somebody's got to throw it out there and make it stick. We got too many nice people, quote unquote, with money that run for office. That ain't getting it done.
I really appreciate you saying that, and I don't disagree with you that somebody should take on Sharice Davids and really let her have it and expose her for what she is, and nobody has done that to this point, but I don't think that would be a winning formula. It's a little bit like before they redrew Cleaver's district, we could have had great Republicans running there, but they wouldn't have beaten Cleaver. Mark Alford's an outstanding congressman, but he wouldn't have beaten Cleaver in that district. There's an impossibility, unfortunately, in Congress. It's like, okay, Chris Stigall and Nathan Willett. Well, one of them is likely going to be the candidate in Missouri 6th. Well, there's no Democrat going to win that. Kay Barnes was a popular governor in Kansas. A popular mayor of Kansas City, and she lost to Sam Graves by 23 points in that district. So some things are not winnable. Unfortunately, Johnson County flipping blue has kind of ruined the entire district.
I understand, but I still think you can do it.
All right, thank you. It would be entertaining for folks. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I'd have to give up radio and the podcast, I think, because of equal time laws. Stigall's had to do that. I think you have to do that when you run, so that complicates things as well. Here is Mark in Lenexa. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good morning, Kevin. Great day. I'm glad you chose the monologue you did. That was very touching and inspirational. And I actually thought during Trump's trip to China, it was a sad thought I had, but I thought, you know what? It's sad. He's safer in China than he is in our own country.
I think you're right. I know you're right, unless the Chinese wanted to take him out, but that wouldn't happen. That would have started World War III.
Yeah, but I thought to myself, how can that be that he's safer abroad than he is in our own country? And that was just a sad thought. But
let me share something that's even sadder, Mark. What's even sadder is the reason that's the case is politics and nothing else. Nothing else. There is no on the left. There is no America. There's a Democrat Party, and that's it. That's all they see. And if he leaves behind all these things, if he has a Trump ballroom and security building or whatever they call it, everything he builds, everything he does is going to be remembered as happening when Trump was president. And generations will see these things and go, oh, yeah, that was the great Republican president, wasn't it? They've been haunted by Abe Lincoln and Ronald Reagan and other Republican presidents forever. They know the lasting stability of Republican legacies, and they don't want Trump to have one.
No, you're exactly right. And the thing is, when he first announced back in 2015, 2016, when he first ran, the thought I had is, I don't know much other than I know he loves our country, and I couldn't say that about all the bunch of those others that were running. And I always knew that he would do things with our country in mind.
Well said, Mark. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you very much. A little static there in his line. We'll let him go. But no, you're exactly right. And, we can look back now on you. Generally speaking, most presidents are remembered for one thing. Most Americans can say, oh, I remember one thing about a president. So if we went backwards, we'd remember about Joe Biden that he was incoherent, right? Everybody would Joe Biden, well, he just wasn't there, okay? If you went back to when I started following politics, Jimmy Carter, to me, it was the hostages in Iran. Remember, Trump's finishing what Carter started. If Carter, when they had the revolution there and they took our people hostage, All right. If Carter had taken care of that then, we wouldn't be dealing with this now. But every president has kicked the can down the road. Reagan is remembered for the Reagan Revolution and rebuilt everything. George W. Bush, 9/11. Barack Obama, Obamacare. One thing. Trump, it's a laundry list. I don't even know where you'd start on all the things Trump has done, and that's probably how he'll be remembered as the multitude of things that he did, including this ballroom and now military installation they're building at the White House. When we come back, Chris DeGaulle joins us a bit to talk about his run for Congress.
From Lawrence to Leavenworth, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Thanks for joining us today and every day on KCMO Talk Radio. The Vince Show is coming your way at 11 o'clock. Right now, it's time to talk a little bit about Chris DeGaulle, who is running for Congress in Missouri's 6th District. Chris has been a friend of mine for 25-plus years. We worked together at Union Broadcasting. He is a tremendous broadcaster, very, very talented. And he really, truly has felt a calling that, you know, it's one thing to be on radio or do a podcast and talk about these things and try to make a difference that way or inspire others to help and do things. It's another to actually go do it. It's very similar to what Mark Alford said when he decided to run. And I believe that from Chris. And, of course, he can always go back to broadcasting. I don't think he wants to make this a career. I get a very strong sense that Chris DeGaulle would like to go do this for, I don't want to put a number necessarily, you know, on him or in your head, but 6, 8, maybe 10 years, and then go back into broadcasting. I do not think he wants to go to D.C. for 30 years. I don't think he's interested in that in any way. I don't think that's who he is. I do think he's interested more about the people in his district than D.C. itself. I don't think he loves D.C. and, you know, wants to go do that. So he's really interesting. His candidacy is very interesting, and I know how committed he is to this. I did a very lengthy interview with him yesterday that is my podcast at kkhasissues.com. If you want to go to the website and hear the whole thing, it's Kevin Kietzman Has Issues. You can go to kkhasissues.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts, or if you haven't listened to podcasts before, it's really easy to do. Just go. If you've got an iPhone, there's a little purple icon that says podcast. If you just hit that, a search bar will pop up. You put my name in there, KKHI or KK Has Issues. Pops right up. Just hit it. It'll play. Or hit follow or subscribe or whatever. It's free, and you'll get notifications when a podcast goes up. Chris DeGaulle is the full interview today. I've taken an excerpt out to play for you right here. We were talking a little bit about a couple of weeks ago when I was the host of the Clay County Republicans Lincoln Reagan Days banquet that he was attending with his family and his staff. Nathan Willett was there, the man he's running against, and others. We were all there. I was the MC for the evening, Will Scharf. It was the night of the Trump ballroom attempt, suicide. So we had a lot to talk about from that night as well, as Will Scharf had his phone go off in emergency status while he was on stage with me. Was alerted by the White House that something had happened, and we had to cut the program short right then and there. So it was a really interesting evening, and that's kind of where we started off, but it led to a broader discussion with Chris. I think you'll enjoy this.
Kevin, people that have listened to you and listened to me and know my career, I got my start in North Missouri. I got my start on Kansas City radio. I've been talking about the agenda that we care about for 25 years. So Clay County, as I said at that dinner that you were emceeing, I was their man of the year. I was their MC many, many, many times, as well as Platte County and Buchanan County for that matter. I've been a trusted conservative voice for your audience and what was formerly my audience, our friend Pete Mundo's audience. I've been speaking on behalf of conservatives for a long time. I didn't just show up a month ago after I filed for office and start talking about President Trump. I've been doing this now for a decade with President Trump and well before that. So that's why I think I'm well suited and why I think we're going to do very well in all 33 counties.
You know, I was so honored to MC that, but Chris, I've reached a point in my career where it's not even humbling; it's almost pathetic. But if Segal can't host, if Mundo can't host, if John Holt can't host, if Mark Alford isn't available, I get the call usually like 10 days out from an event, and I'm like, "Oh, you're calling me 2 weeks beforehand? Okay." Everybody else said no, and you've been holding out until you had to call Kev. I mean, Pod Boy is up, and that's where this thing sticks. I kind of like it because I don't feel the need to do a lot of those events, but when they call, you want to do them. I mean, you want to say yes and help people out. So that was a great group of folks, and it seems like the people in your district are just awesome. And I made some comments that night that where I live on the Kansas side in Johnson County, I sure wish it was more like your district and north of the river in Kansas City, because it seems like it's either slower to change there or they're holding on to things that are good. Would you say that describes your district as a whole?
Bingo. I couldn't have said it better, Keats. That's exactly it. They are conservative through and through. They vote that way consistently. North Missouri has only become more conservative and more red, more traditional. Traditional church services are growing. If you come into my church service or many other Bible preaching church services throughout the Northland and through North Missouri, you're going to see those churches growing. Family, tradition, culture, that matters, as well as a conservative political agenda. But I would put the culture, love of country, love of God, I would put that even before the politics of the day, which are one and the same. But, you know, the celebration we just had last weekend in Washington, D.C., that resonates with North Missourians. They want to hear our elected leaders talking about a divine creator and from whom our rights come. And the American left hates that, as you know. They are literally godless. The American left wants to take God out of their party platform, literally tried to do that a few years ago. It's why they hiss and writhe and scream so much, because they see a movement that President Trump is leading. They see a movement where churches are growing and young people are turning back to a creator. And that is the worst thing for the American left, because the left has tried to make government their religion and teach others that government is the thing that's going to solve their problems and government is the thing they should worship. And President Trump has driven a dagger right through the heart of that ideology. And that's what scares the left so much.
I've got like most people, a text group of buddies, several of us on a thread, and one of them sent the clip of Trump this weekend sitting at the Resolute desk with the message that he gave for the people that were gathered outside in Washington, D.C. for this Rededicate 250 ceremony that was taking place. And he's reading from the Bible. He's reading scripture from the Bible, and the Bible's right in front of him. And I had a buddy say, you know what? I don't think he's overly religious or Christian, but I think he is. I just don't think he's like a theologian. Like, he probably doesn't know the Bible inside and out, but there's something really good about Donald Trump's faith. And I said, listen, if you've spent the last 10 years with everybody trying to kill you, jail you, stop you, or break you financially, you've probably found God over that period of time. Don't you think?
I do think, you know, he says often, and it always hurts my heart a little bit when Trump says, I don't think, I may not get there. I may not see you. I don't think, I've tried to do good enough to get into heaven or something like that. He always kind of hedges on whether we'll see him in heaven or not. And you know, as an evangelical Christian, I always want to say, oh, Mr. President, it's real easy. You've just got to declare Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and repent of your sins. There's nothing you can do. It's freely given, you know. And I hope he takes that to heart. I don't know if he does, but you know, people who are critical of his faith or say, well, he doesn't act very Christian or his behavior hasn't been very Christian or whatever, I say, well, mine hasn't been either. In my life, I'm not pure as the wind ribbons. No, I sin every day. And incidentally, Christians are not electing a theologian. Christians are not electing a pastor. We're electing the best candidate we believe for president to govern the country, who, by the way, is the single biggest advocate in modern history for life. I mean, this is a president that stood on the Mall and spoke to the pro-life movement. No other president, Republican or Democrat, has done that in decades. And so while he may not always know chapter and verse, every line of scripture, or maybe he says something that makes some of us squirm, the man has done more to fight to protect religious liberty and stand for conscientious objection with everything from COVID to abortion to keeping churches open. Christians have never had a warrior in the White House like they have in Donald Trump.
No, I agree with that. And, you know, he's said from day one he's a counterpuncher, and there's nothing that describes an eye for an eye more than being a counterpuncher. That's pretty much what he's done and everything he's done. You come after him, he's going to come after you even harder. And those are the things that he probably thinks aren't very Christian of him. But when somebody comes after you, what else is there? I mean, you have to, don't you?
Look, I don't know about you. I'm more a lover than a fighter, but it was always good to have the football guy on your side in the hall if anybody gave you trouble, right? Trump's the football guy.
Trump is the football guy. That's Chris DeGaulle, an excerpt from my podcast, Kevin Kietzman Has Issues. You can hear it right now anywhere you listen to podcasts, or just go to my webpage, kkhasissues.com, and hit the play button right there on your computer if you want to hear the entire interview with Chris DeGaulle. It's lengthy. We get into a lot of cool topics, including an event that he's having tonight in Kearney. It's from 6 until 7:30, and it's going to be a lot of fun because he's going to feed you free if you'd like to go. If you'd like to go to an event like that and meet Chris DeGaulle or talk about the campaign or express your concern over any issue, that's what it's all about, and he'll be there. It's basically his official kickoff event. Pete Mundo is the master of ceremonies, so that'll be fun. Mundo's going to be there. Why wouldn't you go? It's at the famous barn there in Kearney. If you want to get out there and check it out, it's from 6 until 7:30. I'm sure the chow is going to be good. The company will be outstanding. You'll have Pete Mundo and Chris Stegall in one place. Go get them, Chris. I completely and utterly respect the fact that you're doing exactly what you are doing. It is really, really cool stuff, and we're proud of you. You know, I'm always proud of people in our industry because our industry is so loaded with so many Democrats. When somebody that is conservative in the media says, yeah, I'm not afraid to be conservative, and I'm not afraid to go do this and put my money where my mouth is, and that's kind of what Chris is doing. So if you want to check it out, it's the Updike Barn, Kearney, Missouri tonight, 6 o'clock. Chris Stegall, Pete Mundo will both be there. If you would like to attend, I would encourage you to do that. Now, will Chris Stegall or Nathan Willett or anyone else in District 6 get a Trump endorsement? Maybe, but maybe not. CNN just gave some numbers over the weekend, that 95% of the primary elections that Trump has gotten involved with, his candidate has won. Now, I think it's because he picks many times people that have a pretty big lead, and he understands they're going to win it. They'll see polling, and he'll jump in. But we did just see the Senator Bill Cassidy with the worst performance in a GOP primary in 80 years for a senator. He only got 25% of the vote, so Trump crushed him, and he's gone. Trump approval with Republicans is 83%. That is astounding. The Thomas Massie race in Kentucky is very, 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 very interesting because Massie has been popular with his people. He has changed his haircut. He does not look like a homeless man anymore. Yes, he's got a scruffy beard, but he's changed his haircut to something that looks more like somebody from Kentucky. And although Rand Paul's kind of got the same thing going, I don't know if that's a Kentucky thing or what, but he's cleaned it up. He looks better. Trump is dead against Massie and is with the other guy who is not that impressive of a candidate, to be honest with you. He's not. But we'll see if Trump wins that primary or if Thomas Massie wins that primary. I don't know the polling, but Trump today was slamming on Thomas Massie because they keep asking him about it all the time. I think what the left wants is for Trump to repeatedly be asked about Thomas Massie and blast him and then watch Massie win. So Massie must be leading the polls, or these leftists wouldn't be asking Trump so much about it. I think they want to throw it back in his face and say he stinks. Trump also had a big day yesterday with Mark Cuban. It's one win after another, if people are willing to look. Mark Cuban is the billionaire former owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's now a minority stake shareholder in the Mavericks. He's on the Shark Tank show. He's got billions of dollars. At one point, some people thought Mark Cuban may run for office. I've met Mark Cuban on a couple of occasions. In fact, one we spent an hour or two with him, and it was very interesting. Playing blackjack with him in Lake Tahoe was very interesting. He asked, what's the most anybody's betting at the table? This has been many years ago. And a guy to my left was betting $25 a hand. He goes, great. Can I get $500 in chips? And just make it all $25 chips. And he played a billionaire playing $25 blackjack because he didn't have any with him on this trip, and he just wanted to hang with some folks and play blackjack. Pretty cool guy. We had a really nice evening. It was interesting to play blackjack with the man. But he ventured off into this Trump derangement area and got to a point where he couldn't stand Trump. And even though there's conservative things in Mark Cuban, he was in the NBA, which is very, very liberal, run by liberals, for liberals, the whole thing. So he was in that world too. And he wound up supporting Kamala Harris. That didn't stop him 18 months later from coming to the White House with Trump RX, which, according to Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, has now saved Americans $400 million so far in prescription costs, and they're just getting started. 600 more medications have been added to Trump RX. Cuban says no politics. Clearly, he was a little bit embarrassed about the Kamala thing, and Trump made a joke about, hey, we make mistakes. He was wrong. And Cuban's like, okay. So then they asked Cuban afterwards, who are you for now? Are you a Democrat? He goes, I'm not doing politics. I'm for lower costs for Americans for medicine and prescriptions. And this program works. That's why I'm here. I mean, that's what this is about. Somehow we lost sight in all of this. You know, I mentioned earlier the optics of being at the ballroom today. The Democrats are going to jump all over Trump for that, for standing in front of the ballroom. They're going to turn it somehow into a negative. He doesn't care. He is a doer. He's not running again. And Mark Cuban was asked point blank. He goes, I'm not running. He said, my ultimate legacy will be this. If he can get involved with helping Americans to pay less for the medicine that makes them healthy and keeps them alive, Mark Cuban now says he's dedicating his life to that, and right now that's working with President Trump. Now, you can hate on Mark Cuban all day, and there's all kinds of things he's done and said that'd drive you mad. But give the guy a little credit. If that's really what he believes in, and it's a passion of his to lower prescription costs, and he wants to help, and he's starting a company, and he's been doing things, he's got a track record on this for a lot of years. If that's what he wants to do, and he wants to come to the White House, open arms, baby. Let's take everyone. The tent is big enough for all. Let's do it. All right, Uncanceled continues in a moment. Mark will join us. I'm going to trip him up today. We're going to talk pizza, lottery tickets, and changing the rules of basketball next on KCMO. Okay, right now you can hit me up at 913-408-7957. Seventh caller wins a pair of tickets to see Dierks Bentley at Morton Amphitheater June 13th. Caller number 7 right now on KCMO, and you're going to see Dierks Bentley.
Vince Colonnese here, and I'm coming up at 11 after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Mark Van Sickle, fasten your seatbelt. Are you ready, sir?
Let's go.
Okay, let's start with pizza. No local pizza chains or like your favorite neighborhood, none of those. National pizza chains. They did a national survey, a scientific survey. The top three, can you predict what the top three national pizza chains were in America in order?
Pizza Hut's got to be up there.
What number? 1, 2, or 3?
With Book It coming back, I got to say number 1.
What's Book It?
Kids, if they read enough in the summer, they get free pizza.
At Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you nailed it. Number 1, $8 billion in sales.
Let's go.
Pizza Hut's number 1, Domino's number 2, Papa John's number 3.
I was going to say Papa John's has to be in it.
And you can't have the peppers in the box. You got to tell them leave the peppers out. What's that all about? Do you like the peppers in the box or not?
I don't. No.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I can't do it. Okay, you work at an Exxon station in Memphis, and you want to steal money, but you know you can't steal from the owner in the cash drawer, and you work overnights, and it gets really slow quite often while you work the counter at this Exxon gas station. How are you going to steal money?
I've heard a story like this before. Does he have a friend rob it for him, and then they split the money?
I like it. I teased it the whole time, though. It's lottery tickets.
Oh, that's
this
that's
guy's
right.
name. Seriously, this guy's first name is Lemon Jello. Lemon Jello Washington, working at Exxon in Memphis. He took all the lottery scratcher tickets and scratched them all. His plan was he was going to hit one that made enough money to pay for the losers. But it doesn't work like that.
Ooh.
They caught him, and now he's in jail because you can't do that.
No, yeah, you scratch that, you get like maybe $20.
I think maybe our first clue may have been his name is Lemon Jello. I think you're supposed to say it that way, like Lemon Jello. There's only one capital. It's the L, Lemon Jello. Lemon Jello Washington scratched off every ticket at the Exxon station, assuming he'd hit a big one, and he didn't.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed. Okay, last night, I'm starting to watch the NBA now because the conference finals, I think, are interesting.
It's fun.
In the finals, the basketball just gets better now, right? These are good teams, and it's very real action. FanDuel's got the deals going. You heard the spot a little bit earlier. The Spurs beat Oklahoma City last night in Oklahoma City, the defending champs, and they were a 7.5-point underdog. For about 25 years, Mark, I've been asking the NBA to extend the court and raise the rim. Now that Victor Wembanyama is in the NBA, I am adamant about this.
Yeah, this is your best case scenario for that to happen.
Describe for everybody that doesn't know how tall he is and what it is that he looks like when he plays basketball.
He looks like a giraffe. He's 7'6", I believe.
Okay.
And he hits 3-pointers from almost half court. It's insane.
And he just stands at the rim and dunks. Like,
That
does he
too.
even have to, he doesn't have to jump, really. He can do it on his tiptoes, right?
No. He can also start from the 3-point line and dunk.
Unbelievable.
2 steps to the rim. It's crazy.
It's impossible to describe how long his arms are as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't look right. It looks like when your 13-year-old brother's out there with the 6-year-old in the driveway on the little 5-foot goal.
That's it.
That's what it looks like. The NBA's got a problem. They're going to, at some point, have to raise the goal and extend the court. Wembanyama's the answer. The Vince Show's coming up next. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.